So now we're going to talk about probably what might be one of the more technically difficult parts of this assignment, even though I promise we're going to go through it and it won't be too bad at all. And that's the creation of the oblique views. So we're going to start with oblique plan here. Now, as you can see, I know that my site is a little different than what you guys will probably be dealing with. No worries. I'm just going to walk you through essentially how I would recommend sort of setting this up so that, you know, a prevalent corner, like in this case, this one for me, is sort of sitting at a 45-degree angle with, I guess, the viewing plane of this. So we're just going to get into this right now. The first thing I'd like it if we could do is when we're in the top view like this, because this is going to involve a little bit of warping and shifting around, essentially what we're going to do is I would like it if we could copy, because we've got this nice model here at this point, we're going to copy out a version that's essentially going to get sheared and manipulated to the point that it reveals a plan oblique view. So here's what we'll do. The first thing is we're going to left click, we're going to hold and drag over the model. Then we're going to create a copy. So we're going to go Control C, or you know, if we want to, we can use this copy tool. Actually, this might even be easier. So you know what? How about we'll do that instead? Left click, pull, hold down, drag over the whole model. Move over here to copy. Point to copy from. Yeah, it doesn't matter, but let's just grab it from, let's say, somewhere here. And we'll copy, and then we'll hit, because we're happy with that copy, we're going to hit escape to finish that move. So now, here's what we've got. We've got our space, and again, you might want to rotate yours accordingly depending on sort of what, you know, what your site gives you, but here is how I would recommend rotating this in sort of a quick and dirty sort of sense. So what we're going to do is, since I would like this face here to be 45 degrees like this one was, that's really easy to do. All we're going to do is this, and again, this is just my method of doing the rotation, but I'm going to select the polyline tool. We're going to shift down. This seems like a good point, you know, because this is essentially the face that we want to be 45-degree angles. We're going to select. We're going to draw a nice big, you know, we're going to draw a nice long line straight out, and you'll see why in a second. Like, draw it so that it's a good little bit outside of your model. We're going to left click. We're going to hit enter because we're all finished with that. Now what we're going to do is we're going to sort of take this, and this is going to be our guide. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to select this. We're going to rotate. We're going to type R-O-T-A-T-E, enter. Center of rotation. Let's go right down to that point there, because again, that's going to sort of be like our axis that we're going to create this from. Left click. Then it's going to ask us essentially what the radius is of what we want to rotate, even though, you know, it's going to pull the whole line with us. We're going to left click. Now, because we want to get a nice exact 45-degree angle, what we're going to do is we're just going to type 45, and we're going to hit enter. Perfect. So now that's 45 degrees. Now we're going to use the rotate tool again, and we're essentially going to rotate it so that this face here is concurrent with this sort of ruler line that we just made for ourselves. So here's how we're going to do it. We're going to left click, hold down. We're going to drag, holding. We're going to move over the entire model, release. Now that whole thing is selected, but this part isn't, because we don't want that bit to turn. That's going to be, like I said, that's just our ruler here. So we're going to go we're going to rotate, R-O-T-A-T-E, hit enter. Where's the center of rotation? We want it to send right around here. So we'll select there, left click. Now this is where this feature is essentially quite helpful, because now we're going to, thanks to our snaps, since we want to pull this whole face here so that it's meeting over here, we're going to use our snaps. We're going to grab, you know, anywhere on that face. Left click, and just like that, rotate it so that there. So automatically, this is already looking a lot more like this oblique plan view we have here. Now it's time to get into doing the shearing part of the process to actually get this really starting to look like an oblique drawing that actually gives some detail as to what's going on. Because right now it's just a plan view, but we're going to fix that. Okay, now I realize that this right view here probably seems like it kind of just appeared out of nowhere, and it's going to actually be kind of important for creating this plan view here. So I'm going to really quickly show you how to make sure you have a right view set up for this part, because this part is a little bit specific. So you can pretty much follow exactly what I do for this bit, but here's how it goes. You're going to type new viewport, oh, there it is. Cycle down a couple, new viewport, hit enter. Now, whenever you get one of these pops up, it'll spit out a new viewport for you. Here's what we're going to do. Now let's pretend that this right viewport isn't here right now. And we're doing this completely for the first time. So we're going to go to whatever Rhino just spat out for us for viewport, and we're going to change it to the viewport we need for it. So we're going to go to whatever the view is. In this case, it's top. We're going to right click. We're going to scroll down to set view, and then we're going to go down to whichever we want. And in this case, we want the right view. We'll move him here, and again, we're kind of pretending that it wasn't there in the first place, but now you pretty much know how to set up a right view for the scope of this. So what we're going to do next is we're going to talk about the shear tool, and this is one where it's going to really be helpful to also be able to see what's going on in the perspective view. So have your parallel view or your perspective or whichever in an area where you can really clearly see where essentially your cursor's moving. So here's how it goes. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to type shear, S-H-E-A-R, hit enter. It's going to ask us to select objects to shear. Now, this is why I thought it was good that we include, we kind of create a separate model, because we're about to really warp this model, even though our original is nice and safe over here. So here's what we'll do. We'll scroll out of, we'll try this one. We're going to hold the left cursor down. We're going to do a drag across, the left cursor still held, then release, and now it's all selected. And we're going to hit enter. And when it asks for the origin point, here's what we're going to do. Because we're essentially, as you saw in this image, we're kind of warping it, and it's essentially extruding off of this face here. We're just, for right now, we're going to pick something that's nice and close to the base of the model, and will give us, I guess, a sensible point to shear from. So I would personally recommend grabbing anywhere near whatever building you sort of turned to get this plan view. I would personally recommend you grab it from the base point of that. So that's gonna be the first point selected. We've selected our origin. Now what we're gonna do is now see here, this is where the right view is really handy and the O-snaps are handy. As we move up, we can see, look, when we look over to our parallel view to the left, we see that we've got our little cursor, and it's running along this, the edge of the building. That's good. That's what we want right now. So the essence is, because that's going to essentially be what we're taking and shearing away. So I'll do this a couple times too, just to really make sure that my steps are clear, because I know this part's a little hairy. So once we've got it like this, we're going to bring it up to, here. This seems like a good corner to end. We'll right click, and I recommend being in the right viewport for this. Now look at this. Whoa, look at that. I know it's looking really abstract and crazy right now, but I promise this is for a good reason. So when we look down at our measurements down here, we see, keep an eye on those for a sec here. As we're, oops, sorry, it jumps around a little bit. So what we're going to do is, because we've got this selected and we're going to just move this ever so slightly to the right, what we're going to do is we're going to type, okay, so it says negative 2.82 something. We're going to type negative, I think for this shear angle, we're going to say, let's call it 30 degrees. So we're going to type negative or minus 30, and we're going to hit enter. Now, I know that looks real crazy in this view here, but look at what we have on the top here now, in the top view. Oh, as you all remember, let's change this over to, we'll change this view to shaded instead of wireframe. And look, now all of the measurements and dimensions are going to be exactly correct. You know, they'd be measurable, but now we've got this extra dimension that we've just essentially extruded or sheared from. So this is essentially what we want. And of course, in any other angle here, it looks, you know, it's kind of been butchered a little bit, but for this angle here, the shear tool has worked to produce a, you know, it's created an oblique view for us. So we're going to go through all this again right now because I realized that I just threw a whole bunch of really complex stuff at you. So let's take it from the top again here. So we're going to go Control Z. We're going to put it right back the way it was. So from the top, once we have this, you know, this ideal corner rotated to 45 degrees, we're going to type shear, S-H-E-A-R, hit enter. We're going to grab the whole mess, left click, hold down, drag across, grab the whole model, release, select object to shear, hit enter when done. So we're going to hit enter because we like what we see. Oh, let's hold the middle cursor down here. And we're going to make that nice grab right from this corner down here. See there? Remember, that's the point where we want to sort of shoot our oblique view from. So we'll grab that corner, then we'll zoom out a little so we can see that our cursor is going where we want it to. We're going to grab the top of this corner, the part that we're going to be shearing away, and then you can see it shear like that. Once we're in the right view, we have all the shearing direction power and everything. That's when we're going to type negative, we'll just say 30. Hit enter, and wow, it looks crazy in this view, but this view is exactly what we want. So here's what we do now. Because all this is great, you know, it gives us what we need, but we need to turn this into something that we can actually put into Illustrator. So here's how we're going to do it. You remember how we talked about the make 2D command? Well, we're going to use it right now. Here's how we'll do it. Now that we've got this top view with this excellent oblique plan, we're going to left click, click and drag over everything, release. We're going to type make 2D, hit enter. Now, as we can see, this is the top view. That's the one that shows us what we want to see. And we can see that that's the view that it's set to. Projection, view, perfect. That's exactly what we want. Now we're going to hit OK. And let's see what it does for us. Excellent. Now look, all this has just been created, sorry about that by the way, as a series of lines. But we need this to be in AutoCAD, don't we? Here's how we're going to do it. We're going to export just like we did last time. We're going to click, left click and drag over everything. We're going to type export. Hit enter, DWG, we'll call this plan oblique. Hit save, hit OK, all these settings look good. And here we have it. Now let's open it and let's see what we've got in CAD to work with. Sometimes it takes a second. But we zoom out a little bit and look at that. We've got a nice set of CAD lines that have just perfectly spat out a plan oblique. Now, I know that was a lot of steps, and it's a little bit of an abstract tool in Rhino, But I trust you. Trust me, if you've got your right view port set up and you're able to adjust this the way we were talking about earlier, get it to that nice 45 degree using the rotate tool, I promise this won't be difficult. But we can go through this in class if at any point you're really having trouble with it.